was looking at the table. And it
Brentford 18th.
Woo! Hey, you didn't get me on here for my football knowledge. We absolutely know.
No, do we know that much? Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, I'm just the donkey that does the presenting now. Welcome to the NUFC360 podcast. With me this week is Ryan and a very pasty-looking Stephen. You need to get that sorted. How are we, gentlemen? Ryan, I'm assuming you're chuffed after a 5-0 win. Stephen, I'm sensing you're fuming. I don't know. We don't know why. What's going on?
I'm in a grand mood. I just don't like referees and people that leave their seat early to go for a pint in the stadium. That too.
Yeah. Comment below. So Stephen would like to have a hard rule. You're not allowed to leave like you're in the theatre until half-time whistle's blown. Should that be passed or not? Comment below. But guys, 5-0. 5-0. I'm coming off. I was watching the Man United game of the weekend in a hotel room because there was a tiny bar that I was in. So I was watching it like this on my little phone. But last night was just absolutely brilliant. Absolutely sensational. We've been playing this well now for like 6 games in a row or something. We've just been humming, playing so well. I mean, Ryan, what's your sort of memory of last night? What was the most enjoyable part of last night?
I think it's just the football in general. It was just an absolute pleasure to watch in the first half, wasn't it? I mean, that's as good as I think I've seen us look going forward in a long, long time. Yep. I mean, we just looked electric every time we got the ball. You know, Murphy, Barnes. I mean, Murphy in the first 15, 20 minutes was
amazing.
Electric. I mean, he put the ball on a plate for Isak twice. Could have had 3 or 4 in the first 15 minutes, Isak. But I just thought our general play in the midfield, I think it's probably the best midfield in the Prem. I don't think there's much arguing with that at the minute. I think Tonali is probably the best midfielder right now in the Prem as well.
So good,
man. Absolutely bossing every single game.
I'm glad we didn't send him back to Milan like some people wanted us to.
But
What's the fuck?
I think we're all guilty of doubting him, but to be fair, he's proven everyone wrong. And yeah, everything's just clicking. It just seems to be clicking. The left-hand side, Tino and Barnes.
Our second string, left side, just tearing it up.
Yeah, in theory. I mean, yeah, Barnes hasn't played a lot of football, but you can tell he's a confidence player. He's a bit like Murphy, you know, and you get that bit of form when a couple of goals start going in for you. You can see the difference in him in terms of, he's taking the ball outside last night on his left foot, coming back across goal. I mean, it was brilliant.
We're playing more in a style that suits him as well. We're getting him on the break a lot more, and we've played a few games recently where teams have given him enough space to run into, where he's caused a lot of problems and done a lot of damage.
Yeah, 100%. I think Tino as well, arguably even better at left back. I don't know if it's the system we're playing. I think it suits him a little bit more in the sense that perhaps I think Trippier, obviously, on the right-hand side, attacking going forward, brilliant, and that's always been a key down that right-hand side because we've tended to have Almiron or Murphy. I know Murphy's been excellent at the minute, but typically a right winger that's probably lacking in quality compared to the rest of the other two. So Trippier, that right back is an important part of the play, whereas on the left-hand side, you've got a player in there that's, can make things happen, and the left back isn't quite typically as required to be as good going forward. But Tino and Barnes linking up great. He's using his left foot, which I really like. He's added another dimension.
I was going to say, that's one of the things that clearly they've worked on. Because I think when he was first in there for the first 2 or 3 games, we'd be bombing forward. And then he just cut the head off the attack, stop, turn in. The defender knew what he was going to do. But yeah, he is whipping that ball with his left foot.
I think it was because what was it? It was the West Ham game before the final. Everyone we kept on saying that he's got to learn how to use the left foot, and then he used it in the final, and he hasn't stopped using it since. I think it does help. It's helped that like you say, Mark. He started off a bit rough the first couple of games after Hall got injured on the left hand side, and then he's just sort of. I don't think it's necessarily like he's better on the left. I think he's rounded into his best form of the season while playing there. I do think that he can still probably produce this kind of form on the right hand side as well, but I think it's just a coincidence.
I haven't seen him cross with his right foot as well as he's been crossing with his left foot, like genuinely. On the right hand side, he never beats the first man, and he's floating in these lovely crosses with his left. Strange. It'll just help him Mazraoui does not tackle you.
That's true. But I mean, he's added another dimension, and Barnes doing the same. You know, he's typically both of them quite predictable. Barnes, you know, he showed the defender a dream last night. He was. Everyone thinks he's going inside. He beats him on the outside. In terms of his finishing as well, I mean, Barnes is as good as you'll see in terms of a winger in front of goal. I mean, he's efficient, isn't he?
I mean, that's what he was signed for, right? I mean, we traded in Alan Saint-Maximin, who was all style, no substance, for Barnes, who had, you know, in his time at Leicester, you know, he was a 10 to 15 goal a season winger and then several assists. You know, we signed him for that minimum level of performance. And I think it was after yesterday, I think he's now matched Murphy for number of goals he's scored this season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's hardly played this season, and he's one goal away from double digits, I believe. So, just it shows, doesn't it? You know, he's an efficient player, and I think he's proven a lot of people wrong, myself included, because he was kind of one on the list where I was saying, you know, does he suit this team? I'm not sure he does. Never doubted really his ability as a footballer, but it's more about, you know, some players just don't fit a system, and I wasn't sure whether Barnes suited Newcastle's system. But I think Newcastle are a better side when they play like they're playing at the minute, where they sub teams in and they hit them on the break, because we're so effective on the break and we're so quick on the break.
It helps when you've got a midfield that's playing so well that all of them can pretty much find people in space. I mean, Joelinton's not a particularly good long range passer, but you can tell he's playing with confidence. You can tell he's playing with confidence because he's flicking balls around the corner, and he's playing little dink balls that normally he gives the ball away a little cheaply. You know, Bruno's just being routinely very good, and then Tonali is just, particularly yesterday, Tonali just decided, I'm going to just turn into the best midfielder in the world right now, and was just, I mean, spraying balls left, right, and center. The one that set up Barnes for his goal was really good. It looked a bit longer range in person because I was on the Leeds east corner.
At him.
And then there was really early on, there was the crossfield ball to Murphy, which was then crossed in, and then Isak couldn't score with it. And it was, you know, he was showing off his full range of passing. Tonali is such a good midfielder. And then every time, moving away from that, just like the goals and the creativity, every single time Palace got the ball, especially in transition, you know, within about 3 seconds, there was this loping Italian midfielders coming and hovering into view, and he would
like
just pop up and he just clean the ball up and he'd win it back. You know, I like you say, I don't think there is a better midfield in the league right now. I think, and as footballing oracle and scholar Jason Cundy of TalkSport says, there is no better team in the country right now. Like overall, not just midfield, but we are. And I agree with him for once. We are the best team in the country at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it does all come from the midfield. I was saying last night to my dad watching it, Tonali and Joelinton are both playing so well, they're making Bruno look poor because his contribution has lessened so much, because Tonali's like, nah, I'll get it, I can spray it. And then you've got Joelinton putting in some massive tackles. It makes Bruno, and if Bruno's the weak link in our midfield, that is a good thing. That's a good problem to have. Pretty good midfield, absolutely.
To be fair to Bruno, I thought he actually had a better game last night than he has.
I agree. I agree.
He made some good passes. There was one, I mean, there was a couple of moments in there, you know, there was one way because slid Isak in. There was a bit of a poor
It was like a 4v3 at one point. When I was like, fuck's sake, Bruno.
But he did make some good passes. I mean, there was one where Murphy laid off Isak in the first half. Bruno beat 2-3 men, slid it into Murphy. It was a lovely pass. I thought Bruno played well. I think the midfield is just dominant, and it's got strength in all areas, really. It's physical. Tonali and Joelinton are, you know, fairly quick. And then
Tonali's rapid for a midfielder.
So fast. He's so powerful and fast.
It's clearly that 10-month that report that came out, but he spent 10 months working with a strength and speed coach. Whoever that coach is, you know, never let them work for another team ever again. Yeah. Like, put every single player in the squad to work with that coach. Get Lewis Hall on it. Get Isak filled out. You know, get him filled out on it. Same with Gordon. Get them all like powerhouses. Well, that's what we want.
With Barnes, there's very quickly last thing on him. I was about to say, I think the best thing for Barnes, and I think we've seen it with Gordon now, is that he's running the games that he's been given, and he's now getting some form of consistency. Whereas I find now that Gordon can't get in the team. He didn't do much last time when he came on. He is going to be struggling, which is a good problem to have, a great problem to have. In regards to the goals last night, Jacob Murphy says he meant it, and if he did, Holy shit. What a goal that was.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with what you said, Ryan. In the first 15 minutes, he played out of his skin. We should have been 2 or 3 up purely on his deliveries. I thought it was a revelation. And then what happened after that? Something else happened.
Penalty.
Oh no, the penalty. I was searching my mind like some bullshit happened. What was it? Yes, the penalty. You both had a chance to look at it. Was it a penalty in your eyes? Yeah.
Real time, in person, 10 meters away from where it happened. He clearly got the ball. Got the ball. You see keepers do that all the time. They collide with people all the time.
Yeah.
It's purely just because the refs were pricks without using certain language that, is inappropriate even for us. The refs were awful. The refs were absolutely awful.
I mean, for me, don't get me wrong, it was stupid by Pope to even go for the ball in the first
proper
place.
Nick Popery,
naive goalkeeping. I mean, he didn't need to come for it. It was almost on the edge of the 18-yard box.
And that a couple of times in that game.
Yeah, but just VAR in general for me. I'm not going to go on Mark, and we've had this rant several times, but that would never have been given. No one was blaming the penalty. Richards went downhill with his head.
Yeah,
and then that gives VAR enough time to go back and look at it, and then it takes them 4 or 5 minutes to make a decision. They need to change it. If they're going to keep it, it should be a review system, 30 seconds, a minute, and they should have. If they can't all unanimously decide,
you can't have a multi-minute VAR process and then say it's a clear and obvious error, because if if it's a clear and obvious error, you should be able to spot it.
One take. Oh shit! No, he's absolutely wiped him out. You're right. He was about a good.
He's wiped him out. He hasn't got the ball. But then you see it on the. I've seen since I watched some replays of it after I got home from the game. First angle I saw, you see Pope hit the ball first. He gets the ball first before he gets the player. That's perfectly. It's not a foul.
The biggest thing for me and what Ryan's picked up on there is no one was claiming it.
Mm-hmm.
Like your first clue as a referee should be, is everyone claiming for it? Because they know what they should be shouting for. You can tell when it's a bad handball because everyone goes, whoa! They lose their shit because they know it's in the moment. There was never a penalty. And again, what Ryan's regurgitating what Ryan just said, but my dad always said, if it's clear and obvious, they should have 3 replays in 30 seconds. And if they can't definitively say that is a mistake and it's completely wrong, then you play on. Because people would rather have on-field decisions faster than sitting around for 3.5 minutes to still fucking get it wrong.
It's the same thing we always end up saying. Just give us something like, something very clear, like clarify the language, because clearly clear and obvious is not clear and obvious according to the referees. Make it so that it's not the referees union fucking re-refereeing their own decisions and going with their mates, because we know for a fact that they don't want to embarrass their mates. They want to protect each other, and then make it like bloody rugby. Let us hear everything they're saying all the time, and then use plain language. Is this a penalty? Is there any reason why I cannot just continue with this game? Yes or no? No, because we're looking at this. Okay, you've got 30 seconds. Give me a result in 30 seconds or less. Otherwise, I'm sticking with the on-field decision by default. The on-field decision was a lack of decision. So you continue with the game. The referee only stopped to get called. It only got sent to the monitor after he'd already stopped the game because Richards decided, there's a break on. Let me go down and hold my head.
Which should be banned as well. They should stop this nonsense with head injuries. If head injuries are that bad, the player stays down. Physios are allowed on.
They should be sent off like you do with injuries. You know, when a player goes down with an injury and the physios have to come on, they are mandated to go off. If someone goes down with a head injury, then gets up and pretends like nothing happened, they should still have to go off.
Yeah,
for the same length of time.
Stop just every player that goes down with a head injury, the physio comes on, and that's it.
Yeah.
The game continues.
Or really take a hard line with it. Send them into the concussion protocol. Make them go to get assessed on the touchline.
It's just another rule, because things like diving and things like these head injury bullshits and sitting down and wasting time is only there because the referees are incapable of managing the games. That's the only reason they're there.
And they started cracking down a little bit on time wasting. So
and then stopped. You can't kick a ball away. Now you can kick a ball away. Like, just fucking just have a rule.
And they started forcing players to go off at the nearest touchline when they got subbed off, but now they don't.
Yep, stop now. Yeah, they've got no.
The referees
like the
deciding.
Substitute teachers. The second you show weakness, especially teams like pros, they'll go right down your throat and never get back.
I was saying to my dad, I think a good comparison is in the NFL when they brought in a review system for penalties. You could review pretty much everything. But what the referees did, and the referees in the NFL are notoriously bad as well. What they did was, because they also ran it like our refs do with VAR, they ran it deliberately badly and put the most anti-review official in charge of it, and they ran it so badly they had to get rid of it so that the officials wouldn't be second guessed. And there's no, as long as the referees continue to be incompetent in this country, I will not believe that isn't a possibility. The referees in this country, we know that they want to protect. See Mike Dean and pricks like him on TV saying, "Oh, I want to protect him. I don't want to embarrass him in front of so many people. He's going to get so much abuse." Abuse is one thing, sure, protect him from that, but don't back his decision just because you don't want to embarrass the guy if he's made a bloody stupid mistake.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to move away from VAR because I could talk about it till the cows come home, and we then look at the VAR replay and notice that the cows haven't come home, but we still say the cows have come home. We will move on to the worst penalty I've seen. Taken by, I said to my mum and dad before the penalty moment, it's just going straight in. He's quality, this lad. Then
it's the second he hesitated, I was like, he's bottled it. He's bottled it.
I think they should be banned, by the way. In Mark's Britain, it would be you must maintain the same momentum through the entire penalty. No stuttery stop bullshit. That's
I slightly disagree, because I think if you want to make a fool of yourself, make a fool of yourself. Because honestly, because we've seen it before, we've seen it with our lads before. I mean, I think it was against Palace 2 seasons ago in the Cup. Bruno missed a very similar penalty. He did a stupid little stuttered run up and then missed a penalty over the crossbar. If you want to make an absolute tit of yourself and have an awful penalty saved by Nick Pope, who was a bit stupid to put himself in a situation where a stupid penalty was given in the first place, then fair play to him. Make a tit yourself. As my favorite journalist, the one that covers Newcastle United, George Culkin at The Athletic, says, just twat it. Just hit the ball really hard. Into the net. That's
it. You can always forgive.
Harry Kane will just leather it into the corner. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best midfielders ever in the Premier League, will just whack it. Yep, unless you're Ivan Toney, who does hit it, but he doesn't get a huge run up, so he doesn't hit it very hard. But he will still hit it, but he'll hit it in a clever way, but he'll still hit it hard.
Yeah.
Just whack the fucking thing.
And then the craziest 4 minutes, so that missed the pen. We ran at the other end, and Agent Mark Gahey, was that the second goal he scored for us this year? As I heard the commentary.
Eighth top goal scorer this season, actually.
That's funny.
Agent Mark Gahey, he said, "Sorry lads for the summer. I'll here you go, have a couple of goals."
He's had a couple of Tonkins at St James's. I think we did them 5-1. Was it last season or the year before as well? Thing is, I thought he actually looked all right first 15-20 minutes. There was a couple of runs he made from the back, which were really good, actually. Driving with pace, which is what he's good at.
Pretty good to compete with Fabian Schär, I think, when he signed for us in the summer.
Yeah, Fabian Schär was awesome last night. But I think it was a complete momentum switch, wasn't it? It almost, that penalty riled the crowd up, and then
it was 96 seconds, I think, from penalty save to goal.
Yep.
I thought the crowd was good in the first half, regardless, but it really took the crowd to another level. And
it did.
We obviously got a little bit fortunate. I think we probably would have scored anyway if Gay didn't make that tackle, because Isaac was waiting for us. But another quick breakaway, more good play from Barnes.
And then
it kind of killed Palace's momentum, I thought.
The third one, remind me, was that the shimmy from Barnes and left foot finish? Again, just with utter confidence. When the defender caught him up, as they always do, because he's not very quick. Here we go. Absolutely. Sent him back in. It was just that elite, only his half a yard, which he made for himself, who is a man in form. I thought someone who was poor by his standards was Isak. He could have had himself a hat trick.
He started doing again what he was doing at the start of this season, which is, he'll score the really hard chances, but the one-on-ones and the easy ones, he's sort of fluffing a bit. I think he's trying a bit too hard at times. But then obviously he got his chance, objectively his hardest chance of the game. He scores it with a really good finish.
abused RB, bottom corner.
Yeah, I think with Isak, I think for me, I can, which I don't mind, by the way, because I think you want a player that is desperate to score goals. You know, I think sense a bit of frustration. I think that had been, I think it was 8 or 9 goals that we'd scored, or 11, even I think maybe 11 since he had last got a goal. So we'd scored 11 goals and he hadn't scored any of them. I think there was a bit of frustration there in the sense that he wants to get that goal and he was maybe snatching at his chances a little bit. I thought, especially in the first half. I mean, that one. I mean, it was a good save.
There was a couple of really, Henderson made a couple of good saves in the game as well. The first one in particular was a low down. It was unsighted, low down to his left. That was a really good save.
The header, though,
I think the header, I agree.
For the Arsenal one, probably an easier chance than that. Actually, probably should be hitting the target. And then he had a couple. But look, he scored. That'll hopefully give him a bit more confidence and going into the weekend. And I mean,
it's certainly a good problem to have, isn't it?
He's work off the ball, and I think one thing that is going unnoticed with Isak at the minute is he's making a lot of runs off the ball, which is actually opening up space for Barnes and Murphy. Which is definitely, really
he naturally draws a lot of attention.
Still contributing to the team, right? Because he's now got that reputation as being that danger man and that man that you've got to keep tight to because he's got pace, he'll turn you. But he saw it even against, I think it was Man United at the weekend. He made a run across, which then opened that space for Barnes to drive through the middle and get that goal. So, it wasn't at his very best, but still positive signs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're
a great problem to have. 9 goals in 2 games, and Isak only scores 1 of them. Is definitely a good place to be.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. I mean, still scoring, as you say, 11 goals and objectively one of the best strikers in the world in your team isn't scoring them. Just as everyone else is. The team is playing well. I think the last of the goals was Murphy. Sorry, it was Murphy's assist for Shaw. Am I thinking? Was that?
Was it Trippier back heels the ball and Murphy put in a brilliant delivery.
What absolutely amazing on a sixpence. And then I think the whole team really is just. There's not a bad player on the pitch at the minute. I think, as I said before, I think Bruno is looking like the worst player on the pitch, and I don't think he's playing badly. I just think everyone else is playing so much
really
better.
Well. Yeah.
I think one person deserves a massive shout out though is Kieran Trippier. I think the last month
he's been brilliant.
6 weeks he's come into the team. He's been outstanding.
And the amount of stick that he and Cher have gotten this season, obviously for very fair reason as well. They both stunk when they played early in the season. Like Cher, we were saying repeatedly, well, we completely see why the club wanted a centre back in the summer.
I still do.
I think and I think naturally, I think they should still get another centre back in the summer and maybe a backup right back if Trippier leaves. But both the two of them have stepped up to the plate, especially around the cup final, and they've just been phenomenal for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, Trippier seems to have his energy back. He seems to have, and for me, he just brings that leadership and experience. You can see it. There's times in the first half, for example, Pope gets the ball, he's rushing out. Who can I throw it to? Trippier's, he's telling him to calm down, slow the game down. It's that experience that I think he brings out the best in the defense, and he brings out the best in Murphy, whoever's playing on the right as well.
Yeah,
I think he gives that attraction. I wish he'd stop floating them stupid corners in there because they're doing my head. Why don't put Murphy on the corners? Get Murphy.
I think I said the same thing in the game. Is I think one thing we noticed is that actually throughout the game they stopped having him float in corners. They started doing more short routines and on free kicks instead of floating them in, he would lay them off to someone who would then shoot or drill them in. And it started working. It really started working. I'd keep Murphy and the likes of Tonali still at the edge of the box for corners and stuff because you want to be able to get it to them quickly so that they can shoot. Because as good as Murphy's deliveries are, he can hit a ball really hard.
Yeah. And the recovery on the break, both of them are rapid. There's no one. When I see Murphy charging back, I'm like, yeah, we're good. Even if he gets beaten 3 times, he's gonna be there. He's gonna
keep going. Yeah, he's gonna keep going.
Yeah. One thing I enjoyed about the victory last night as well was even when we were ahead 3 or 4-0, we were just dominating the ball still. They just couldn't get near us. It was, again, indicative of what we've been doing for the last month or so. So, yeah, really good. 5-0. Love that. Although the other thing to say was, obviously, the referees were very poor. I don't know what the referee's name is, but it reminds me of like a divorcee sits and has microwave meals every night. Sad little man. Ain't he refereed in that way as well? But Lerma, red card. Some people were saying possible red card. I think it was, your orange orangey card.
I think it was a yellow card. It's just one of those. It wasn't great, but I mean, it's a yellow card. I think we're talking about rules. I don't like that rule where if he clatters into Share intentionally, Share goes down, Share has to come off the pitch for 30 seconds. Yet Newcastle are now a man down for the next 30 seconds. I mean, how does that work?
Well, it's the referee's fault because everyone feigns injury and they allow them to. So that's why there's no control. There's no common sense. If we were a night out and I square up to Stephen, he just falls on the floor and everyone knows I've not touched him. You're not all going to go, right, Mark, you're not right. Go away, Mark. You'll be like, what are you doing, Stephen? Get up, you dick. Do you know what I mean? But the referees go, no, you've got to go off. There's no common sense. But what VAR's done is just shown that the referees know absolutely bugger all. And they're awful. Anti-football. It's so ridiculous when the commentators last night were like, "That's never a penalty." What they're doing? What are they even looking at?
Unless it was the co-coms on Sky. I can't remember his
Sky
name.
He was absolutely screaming for a penalty. Yeah.
It must have been a Macam or something.
Sky shit.
Chris
Son's Chris Son's so bad. He's such a bad pundit. Awful. Yeah. He talks some right bollocks. I've seen him have some right arguments on his terrible takes with other people.
And worst of all, he's a former Celtic player.
Yeah, fucking boo. Fucking boo.
The can of worms there, Stephen.
Anyway, moving swiftly on, boys. We've got an easy game of the weekend. Just Aston Villa away. I would say probably the hardest game we've got left. Would you say? Yeah.
Because I think after the cup final,
home, aren't they?
I think after the cup final, I think we pinpointed that this is probably the toughest game left in the run-in. You could maybe that with Brentford, because Brentford, you wanted that game was to set the tone for the run-in. I think Villa are the best team left by a distance. I think by the time we play Arsenal, they will be on the beach. They might have a final to worry about as well, so they won't care. They might.
Second place,
they might care because they might not want to be beaten 4 times in a season by us. Although we might want to use that game to try and tap up Bukayo Saka to come be our right winger in the summer, because obviously
that's about as nonsensical as them buying Isak.
Yeah, but we've won a trophy. We've won a trophy more recently than Arsenal, and he's a Newcastle fan. He and his family are Newcastle fans, so
I'm going to start calling you Mark, Stephen. Yep.
So in all seriousness, I think it would be a very tough game. We're flying. Should be a good game, really. I think it's a chance for us. I think a point would be a great result. I think we'll take a massive step toward Champions League football if we can get any form of result. Even if we lose, I don't think it's the end of the world, because I think the results that we've got recently in the conference we're playing with. And we do have some winnable games. We've got 3 home games left: Ipswich, Everton, Chelsea, and Brighton away, who are not playing great at the minute.
Oh, are we at the Emirates?
And the Emirates, yeah. But I think, shit. I think it's with the way the league's going. Chelsea are not in great form, and Forest themselves are not in great form. They're missing Chris Wood, but the league's tough, isn't it? Teams lose games away.
Anyone can beat anyone.
Anyone can beat anyone. So I think it's important that we don't get absolutely blown away.
I think it's important that we won our game in hand yesterday, because I think if we hadn't, everyone pointed out, if we hadn't won that game yesterday, then if Villa then beat us at Villa Park, they would have gone ahead of us. I think now, even if we lose to them, we're still a couple points ahead, and I don't think we're going to drop enough points for them to overhaul the difference in the remainder of the run-in. I think it's going to be a coin flip as well with them, because they left so much on the pitch against PSG, because they kept going right to the end, because they played brilliantly for most of the game, particularly the second half against PSG, and I think they probably deserve to go through overall. But it'll be a coin flip as to whether they could be really drained when we go there on Sunday, but at the same time they could also be really emotionally up for it, because they're so all their whole fan base is really buoyed by it, and they're very proud of the team, as they should be. So they could be really up for it.
And I also think what we'll see is we have had a couple of good results against Villa lately, especially last season when we went there. Did 3-0, 3-1, I think it was, and Eddie Howe seems to have had Unai Emery's number recently, and And I think there'll be a point to prove.
The previous away fixture was a 3-1 loss, I think, or 3-0 loss.
Yeah, maybe. But I think we did them 5-1 at home, and then we did them 4-0 or something.
Yeah.
Recently.
We've definitely got a better record than not, yeah.
I think one of the massive advantages that Villa do have, though, is they have the squad depth that we don't have. So they do have the option to bring in players like Daniel Malen, who wasn't even in the squad. He's not registered for the Champions League. You know, they've got those sort of players that can come in and impact the game and have that freshness. Watkins was on the bench for the Champions League game. You know, there is options for Villa. We obviously, there will be some tightness in the squad, don't get me wrong. And there might be some in ours, but we did get a chance, to rest some of our players. You know, we managed to take Isak off after 70, Bruno off after 60, Joe Linton off after 60. Trippier got off, 75. So we had the chance, and I think, with the way the second half kind of worked out as well, we spent a lot of time on the ball. We didn't really have to do much chasing off it. So hoping, that this will be the push to just kind of, I think if we can win on Saturday, which I think is a tall ask, but I think if we can win, then I think, we're very, very close to the Champions League, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, score predictions, boys. What are you saying, Ryan?
It's very tough to call. I'm going to go for a 1-1 or 2-2 draw, I think. I'm going to beat
score draw.
Any side with a score draw. But I really think it could go any way, the game. I think Villa won it just as bad as we do, so it's going to be a very hard game. Two good sides.
Score draw? Any advance on the score draw, Stephen?
Yeah. I mean, we've scored more than them this season. We've conceded fewer. I think on most underlying metrics have us better, by at least a bit.
Right, I think about the underlying metrics.
I think
about the underlying metrics.
Yeah, they do matter. They do matter. I think 3-1 win.
Oh, you bastard! I was gonna say right. Okay, 3-0 win is what I'm saying. No one's getting past Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw at the minute. Although
I know you got the 5-0 right last night. I'm fairly confident.
I fucking did as well. I was proper
so
bantering.
Happy that you got that right.
Can I just say one thing before we end? Also, this is for aimed at you, Stephen, and I know you're so. The XG, right? And I'm going to explain why it's a little bit taller. Crystal Palace had a higher XG than Newcastle last night. Crystal Palace had a higher XG than Newcastle last night, and they got beat 5-0. Explain that to me.
It's because most expected goals doesn't actually take into account whether or not the shot's on target. So, and Palace's penalty will have been worth almost 1 XG on its own. When you actually factor in the fact that the own goal will have been worth very, very little as well, overall, it does sort of even out.
Yeah, they got FM'd in the community, is what you say.
Yeah, it's also worth saying that
fucking FM'd.
Anyone who actually cares about using statistics correctly knows that stats aren't. You don't look at a number and go, "This is the gospel." You look at what's on the pitch. You form your opinion, and then you use stats to back it up. Unless you're fucking Sam Allardyce and Alan Brazil on TalkSport, acting like a bare old fucking dinosaurs, thinking, "Oh, XG, get rid of it."
Yeah, I mean, they needed to get more artificial separation. I think is what lacked last night.
We created artificial separation for Barnes. That's why he scored.
It was everywhere. Everything was separated with robots.
You called that 3-4 months ago, didn't you, Stephen? And how Leicester created that artificial separation for Barnes. And maybe
it's almost as if I actually look at this shit properly.
Nah, just eyeball shout abuse like I do. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. We're looking forward to the weekend. Comment below. What's your score predictions? Are we going to win? Score draw? What's it going to be? Let us know. Like, share, and subscribe. And how are the lads? Hopefully we get... I'm going for second. We're finishing second.